So how are you guys all doing? Okay. So before I go into my speech, I just wanted to give everybody in this room a quick reminder, not to take away from Ruchi and Subhash, but tomorrow is Mother's Day, and I hope you guys are all prepared. Except you, Ruchi, maybe you should wait a couple of years before you're celebrating Mother's Day. But I just wanted to again, thank Ann Auntie and Amma. I mean, those guys worked themselves really ragged to make sure this wedding would happen. And yeah, you guys should go tomorrow and take your mothers out and whatnot. And really celebrate that. Yeah. So don't forget that. So, going into the speech, so the first time Ruchi showed me a picture of Subhash, I was like, yeah, he's too good for her. I was like, you totally outkicked your coverage there, right? Like, it's way gone, right? But I'm half kidding, but whenever Ruchi is sort of, down or depressed, I always say that, you caught a really good one, right? And then she always looks at me with like this really sheepish, guilty grin, and then she smiles, she goes, I know, right? So that's a compliment for you, Subhash. And for you guys who have not yet seen, Subhash, when he proposed, actually flew over to San Jose, which he didn't know was happening, opened the door, and knelt down and proposed while I was I had a video camera in his face while I was recording the whole thing. So you guys should go on YouTube and see it. It's got 1,000 views. It made me like $1, but if you keep looking, maybe I'll make some more money off of it. Right? So the first thing I really want to talk about is I want to actually talk about Subhash's family for a bit. So Subhash's family is just really hospitable, right? Like there was an engagement in Singapore last year. I bought a last-minute ticket, and they had no issues. Clothing me, well not clothing me, but feeding me, and sheltering me, and just making me feel really at home, right? But there's one story that really sticks out that I didn't experience firsthand, but I heard about it last year, right? So what happened is that Subhash and Ruchi were staying in the Bay Area, and I think one of their friends came over to visit, right? And basically, took his friend out to San Francisco. And you guys have all been to San Francisco, right? It's just really, really good food, right? Now, the problem with good food is you tend to gain a bit of weight. And more importantly, you tend to stress the plumbing system of the house, right? So what happens is this friend, he eats a good amount of food, and he comes back home and he goes to use my toilet. And I'm coming, apparently the next day. So the guy uses the toilet, and unfortunately, he completely destroys it. Right? It is beyond use. Plunging doesn't work, and from what I'm told, it was so bad that, like a good neighbor, State Farm is not there. Right? So there's brown water everywhere. It's disgusting. Okay? So anyway, so Subhash says, okay, you know what? I'm going to take care of this. So he walks in, shuts the door, and then disappears for an hour. And he comes out, and the bathroom's completely spotless, right? So the way I see it is that in a good marriage, when you visit your in-laws' house, you have to deal with shit. That's exactly what it is. And Subhash, overall, as a person, having get to know you, I found that you're just very level-headed, you're assertive, you stick with your principles, but you also have a way of subtly showing compassion, which I think Shamor or somebody also mentioned yesterday. And you, of course, you're also a bit of a nerd, but I think that's to be expected, from a male, especially a male engineer, right? And then conversely, you have Ruchi, right? So Ruchi, as you all know, has a completely indomitable work ethic. You guys know that she majored in 3 different majors. I think it was Latin, psychology, and chemistry. And she was also pre-med. And she was on the Indian club, I believe, some form or the other. And she also got into med school, right? So crazy, crazy work ethic. And Ruchi also is very, very socially keen. I have a tendency to run my mouth and say really stupid shit, right? And Ruchi's always good to catch me and say, yeah, Manu, you should have said that. You need to fix this. now, okay? So, Ruchi, even though I'm 4 years older than you, you are light years ahead of me in maturity, and I think that's a very good thing. But one drawback, I should say, is Ruchi is very accident-prone. From a young age, I always remembered her being in some cast or another, even from when she was, I think, was it a high chair? That's what baby said, right? In a high chair, my earlier memories of her is I remember she had a cast on her arm. I remember she climbed a tree and fell. And the worst one I heard, or that you know about, is she tore her ACL. Now, when people tear their ACL, it's because they were like going for playing football, or skiing, or snowboarding. Richie tore her ACL on a trampoline. Okay? So only Richie can do that. So Subhash, you got to be a little careful when you're watching out for her, right? So some of the advice I have for Richie, and in general for everybody, is a lot of times you get hung up on the little things, right? Like maybe I used to bad drink Richie, or maybe the hot water was working, or the car didn't start. But it's always good to look at life in perspective, right? You're in med school, you're doing well, and unless you somehow manage to screw it up, you should become a doctor at this point, right? You clearly found the love of your life, and as I said, like the way you guys are around each other, look at each other, this should work. I have very little reservations about this failure. I think it should be okay, all right? So that being said, whenever you're in a tough spot, or you're tired, or school is wrapping up, just remember. Like, you're in a good position, you've got Subhash there to clean up after you in case you mess up, right? Like, everything will be good, and you guys are really a power couple. You've got a future graduate from Johns Hopkins University, and you've got an engineer at National Instruments, and really, when they were coming up with the music to come in, I kept telling them they should do the House of Cards theme for when they were coming in, but they went with like, what is it, Zooby Dooby, which House of Cards would have been better, in my opinion. So I just really wanted to wish you good luck, not that you need it. I love you guys. I know you don't really need it, you'll be successful, and here's to you beginning. By the way, I forgot the program. I think Anoti and Thilakanko, or Thilakanko is next, I believe, for giving speech. So Thilakanko, as you all know, is Subhash's dad. And here he is.